The alien warship Drekal floated in cold space, its dark hull covered with scars from battle. Deep within its belly, robotic arms pulled a small, damaged Earth escape pod into the hangar. The pod was cracked and burned, its surface blackened by fire and laser. Steam hissed out as the hatch opened. A search team of armored aliens surrounded it, weapons raised. Inside, they found only one survivor. She sat quietly, back straight, blood drying on her face. Her black jumpsuit was torn, but her eyes were sharp. She didn't flinch. She didn't speak. She just looked at them, calm, unreadable. The leader of the squad, a tall, blue-scaled officer named Crate, frowned. "She's human," he said with a laugh. "Weak things. They break easily." Another soldier prodded her with a scanning stick. "Barely alive. Should we take her to the med bay?" "No," Crate said. "Take her to interrogation. Let's find out what Earth knows." They lifted her roughly. She didn't resist, she didn't scream, she didn't even blink. The soldiers dragged her through metal halls filled with alien tech, past strange lights and humming machines. The ship's AI tracked her with cameras, curious about the silent human. In the interrogation chamber, they strapped her to a metal chair. The walls were cold steel, the lights too bright. Machines around her buzzed and clicked. A screen showed her heartbeat, slow and steady. "She's too calm," one alien whispered. Crate leaned close to her face. "You'll tell us everything. Names, bases, codes, you understand me?" She stared at him. Crate smirked. "Nothing to say? That's fine. You'll talk soon." They started the scans. Bright lights flashed. High-pitched sounds filled the room. Probes pushed into her skin. They expected screams. They got silence. She didn't cry, she didn't move, she just watched. Watched the machines. Watched their faces. Like she was studying them. One young alien technician shifted nervously. "Sir, this isn't normal. Her brainwaves. She's not reacting like other humans." "She's in shock," Crate said. "Ignore it, push harder." They did. They played audio of Earth cities burning. They showed images of dead soldiers. She didn't blink. They turned up the mental probes, enough to make most creatures beg for death. Still, she said nothing. Hours passed. Crate returned, growing, frustrated. "Say something, damn it." Her eyes slowly turned toward him, and then, for the first time, she spoke. "You should not have touched me." The room fell silent. Crate laughed again, but it sounded weaker now. "You think you scare us?" Suddenly the lights flickered. The machines beeped in confusion. The heart monitor spiked for a moment and then flatlined, but the woman was still breathing, calmly, steadily. A voice from the comms crackled in. "Sir, we're getting system errors. Cameras are glitching. Engines just rebooted without command." "What?" Crate turned. "How?" Then the lights went dark for 3 full seconds. When they came back on, the woman was still in the chair, but the restraints were open. The technician gasped. No one unlocked her. He whispered. Crate raised his weapon. "Get security in here." She stood up slowly. No fear. No rush. Her eyes met Crate's. "Who are you?" he asked, now unsure. She took one step forward. "You wanted to break me," she said softly. "But you don't break what you don't understand." Alarms began to blare. The ship's red emergency lights turned on. From the hallway, shouting could be heard. Chaos had begun. Systems failed across the ship. Doors locked. The AI screamed errors in 6 languages. She looked around the room once more, then disappeared into the shadows without another word. Crate stood frozen, breathing fast. The technician turned to him. "Sir, I think she broke us first." Sirens screamed through the corridors of the Drekal. Red lights flashed above every door, warning of power failures and intrusions. Soldiers ran back and forth, yelling into comms, trying to lock down sectors. But the ship wasn't responding properly. Systems were glitching. Doors refused to shut. Cameras blinked in and out. And somewhere deep inside that chaos, The woman walked calmly. She no longer wore the restraints. Her black jumpsuit still had rips and burns, but her steps were steady, silent, focused. She moved like she belonged there, like she was part of the ship. The alien officers had no idea where she was going, and that scared them more than anything. Crate stood in the control room watching the monitors with a tight jaw. "Find her," he snapped. "Every unit, every hallway. Seal the damn ship if you have to." A technician tapped a screen nervously. "Sir, the internal sensors are offline. Again, we can't track her." "Impossible," Crate growled. "She's one human. One. This is the most advanced warship in the fleet." Another officer stepped in. "Maybe that's the problem. Maybe she's not just human." In the interrogation lab, two alien scientists replayed the footage from earlier. They watched the moment when she whispered, "You should not have touched me." Then the power dip. Then the restraints unlocking without command. "This doesn't make sense," one said. "We didn't press any release codes." "She did," the other replied quietly. "How?" The first scientist hesitated. "I don't know, but what if she connected with the ship somehow?" "That's not possible. Humans don't interface with tech like we do." "Maybe she's not like other humans." Elsewhere in a dark hallway, two soldiers crept forward with rifles raised. The ship's lights kept flickering above them. The air felt thick, heavy, wrong. They reached a corner and paused. Something moved in the shadows. The first soldier turned, whispering, "Did you hear that?" The second one nodded. "Stay close." They stepped around the corner, but only one of them came back out. The remaining soldiers screamed and fired wildly into the dark, but no one answered. No body, no blood, just silence. Back in the control room, Crate slammed his fist on the console. "She's hunting us," he muttered. "She's not escaping, she's hunting. She should be trying to find a pod or a weapon," one officer said. "But she's just moving through the ship." Crate's eyes narrowed. "She wants something. We need to figure out what before she finds it." Then the ship's AI spoke. Glitchy, slow, foreign, code, detected. Everyone froze. "Repeat that," Crate said. The AI stuttered again. "Foreign, code spreading, system, unstable." Technicians began typing rapidly. "Sir, she's infected the system. It's like a virus, spreading from node to node." Crate stared at the screen. "How? She didn't have any tech on her." "Maybe. She is the tech," a voice said from behind. It was the ship's head scientist. She looked pale, eyes wide. "I analyzed her blood. It's not normal. There are machines in it. Billions of microscopic machines, nanotech, human-designed, but way beyond anything we've seen." Crate's face went cold. "You're saying she's a weapon?" "She's not just a soldier," the scientist said. "She's the delivery system. Her body is the virus." Suddenly all screens went black. A second later, every screen on the bridge lit up again, but not with maps or controls. They showed her face. She looked straight into the camera. Calm, cold. Her voice came through the speakers, low and clear. "You took me from space. You thought I was helpless. You thought pain would make me beg, but I was never the prisoner." "Then what are you?" Crate growled at the screen. "I am the beginning," she said, and the screen shut off. Below the command deck in engineering, panels sparked and burst. Lights died. Walls shook. The main engine roared, then stuttered like it was choking. Engineers yelled into comms, "She's inside the system. We can't stop her. She's rewriting core functions." Doors began to open and close at random. Pressure systems turned on by themselves. Gravity twisted for 2 seconds, just long enough to send soldiers crashing into walls. In the med bay, one alien nurse watched in horror as the medical computer showed human DNA spiraling, mutating, spreading across the network. "She's changing everything," the nurse whispered. On the bridge, Crate took a deep breath. "What do we do?" No one had an answer. Then the ship AI spoke again, in her voice this time. Welcome to your lesson in fear. And across the entire alien ship, the lights all turned red. The lights on the Dracal stayed red. Emergency systems kept running, but nothing else worked. Doors were stuck. Screens showed strange symbols. Voices on comms broke into static. Across the ship, fear spread faster than fire. The woman, the human weapon, was still out there. Crate stood on the bridge, surrounded by silence. His crew watched him, waiting for orders. But what could he say? They weren't hunting her anymore. They were being hunted, trapped in their own ship, and she was controlling everything. A technician whispered, "We need to know who she is, where she came from." Crate nodded slowly. "Check the escape pod logs. Something in that wreck must tell us." They sent a drone back to the hangar. The pod was still there, half melted, still smoking. The drone scanned the inside. Broken, seat blood, one black glove, a small data chip stuck in a wall crack. They retrieved it and rushed back to the lab. When the files opened, everyone leaned in. Project, Thanatos file status, classified, humanity, last defense. The ship's head scientist stared at the screen. "I've seen that word before," she said. "Thanatos, and it's an old human word. Means death." They opened the file. It showed images. Black and white footage of Earth soldiers training in silence, running through fire, surviving alone for months. Then, the woman. A young girl, then a teenager, then older, silent, watching, never smiling. The file said she was the first, the most stable, the most dangerous. Subject 0. Built to learn, built to infect, built to break from the inside. A video played. Earth generals stood around her in a dark room. "If captured," one said, "you know your duty." She nodded once. "Do not let them understand you," another said. "Let them think they are in control. Until it's too late." The last general leaned in close to the camera. "She's not our soldier, she's our warning." Crate stepped back from the screen, his face pale. "All this time," he said quietly, "we thought we captured a survivor. We didn't. We invited the enemy inside." In a dark hallway below the lab, 2 guards patrolled slowly, weapons raised. Every sound made them jump. One guard whispered, "What if she's already been here?" The other turned. "What do you mean?" He pointed at the walls. Strange black lines were spreading across the metal, almost like veins. The metal felt warm, alive. The second guard reached out to touch it. His scream echoed through the corridor as the wall itself seemed to pull him in. The woman was watching from above, hidden in the shadows of the ceiling, eyes glowing faintly from the ship's power. She didn't need weapons. The ship was her weapon now. Back on the bridge, systems began to speak again, but not in the alien language, in hers. Main engine. Offline weapons rewritten command lock engaged by subject. 0. Crate shouted, "Get me control back, anything." "No use," the head scientist said. "She's taken root. This ship is hers now." "Then we abandon ship," someone cried. "Escape pods." A screen lit up with a new message. "Escape pods ejected." They stared. "She didn't want us to leave," Crate whispered. Suddenly, her voice came again through the speakers, calm, soft. "You built this ship to conquer. Now it belongs to me." Crate shouted into the air, "What do you want from us?" She answered, "You took everything from us. Our skies, our cities, our people. Now I take your sky." Across the viewing window, the planet below shimmered. It was the alien homeworld, full of cities, lights, towers, beautiful, proud, now vulnerable. "We have to stop her before she gets to the planet," an officer said. "She's already there," the scientist replied. They didn't understand. But she wasn't just inside the ship anymore. They had connected her mind to the ship's AI, and through the ship, to the planetary systems. Down on the planet, reports started pouring in. Power grids failing, defense shields dropping. Satellites crashing. In one alien city, A child looked up at the sky and saw dozens of their own warships falling, black smoke streaking across the stars. Back on the Drekal, the woman walked into the AI core room. No one dared to stop her. The ship itself moved out of her way. Doors opened. Lights dimmed. She stood in front of the glowing AI sphere and reached out her hand. The AI spoke with a shaky voice. "I don't understand. Your purpose." She whispered back, "That's the point." And she touched the core. The lights across the ship turned white. Everything went silent. Then the core pulsed once and the ship's systems began to change. It was no longer alien, it was hers, and the war had just begun. Silence ruled the Drekal now. The crew no longer shouted. No one gave orders. There were no beeping machines or blinking lights. Everything felt still, like the calm before a storm. But deep down, every alien on board knew. The storm had already started. And the woman, she stood in the center of it. The AI core glowed, faintly in front of her. Its lights, once blue and sharp, were now white and slow, almost like breathing. She didn't need wires. She didn't need a keyboard. Her mind had already merged with it. She was speaking in a language no one else could hear. Lines of code, thought pulses, commands made of feeling. The ship listened and obeyed. Far above the alien planet, satellites exploded in silence. Defense platforms powered down without warning. Long-range sensors melted. Cities below lost contact with orbit. In the command center, Crate stared at the large display window. He saw the planet, his planet, growing darker every minute. Lights went out. Fires lit up where towers fell. Nothing was stopping her. One young officer turned to him. "Sir, if we don't act now, our world will fall." Crate's jaw tightened. "She's turned the ship against us, but maybe we can turn it against her." "How?" "The core," Crate said. "It's the heart of the ship. If we can overload it, even for a few seconds run, we might cut her out. But the core's locked." Crate nodded. "Then we unlock it. Even if we die doing it." The crew hesitated. Fear showed in their eyes, but they followed him. Below, in the AI core room, the woman turned slowly. She felt them coming, not with her ears, with the ship itself. Every footstep echoed through her nerves. She smiled slightly. They were going to fight back. Good. She wanted them to try. On the way to the core, Crate and his team moved through dark corridors. The walls had changed. The metal had grown strange lines, almost like circuits or veins. The air was cold, too, cold, and smelled like ozone. "It's like the ship is alive," one soldier whispered. "She made it alive," Crate replied. They reached the last door. It was sealed. Humming with her power, Crate pulled out a plasma charge. "This won't kill her," he said, "but it'll open the door." The soldier next to him paused. "Sir, what if she's waiting for us?" "Then we make her wait. No longer." The charge blew the door apart in a blast of blue fire. Smoke filled the hallway. The team rushed in, and there she was, standing at the center of the glowing room. Calm. Not surprised. Not scared. "You always come running when it's too late," she said. "Shut it down." Crate shouted. Weapons fired. Energy bolts flew across the room, but stopped mid-air. The ship caught them like insects in a web. The lights above turned red again. "You still don't understand," she said. "You think this is war. This is surgery." She raised her hand, and the floor under one soldier opened. He fell with a scream, swallowed by the ship itself. Crate ran to the core. "Hold her off." Two others followed. They slammed manual controls, trying to open the core's emergency failsafe. She didn't stop them. She just watched. Crate opened the panel and saw something strange inside. The core wasn't just a machine anymore. It had changed, grown. There were no wires. There was tissue, living strands, pulsing light. "Dear gods," one of them whispered. "She's not inside the ship." "She is the ship," Crate said. Behind them, her voice echoed. You wanted to break me, so I broke your rules. She walked forward, slowly. You locked me in a cage, but I turned the cage into a body. One soldier turned and fired, and this time, the shot hit. Her body flew back, crashing against the wall. She didn't move. They stepped closer. Was it over? Then, her eyes opened. I was never the weak one, she said. She stood, not with effort, but with ease. As if gravity meant nothing anymore, her skin shimmered now. Not human, not metal. Something in between. She stepped into the core light. Crate shouted, "Detonate it! Now!" But the charge failed. The button blinked red. She smiled. I rewrote, "Your detonator 6 minutes ago." And then the ship changed completely. The floor melted into light. The walls folded inward. The entire room became white and smooth, like the inside of a machine's dream. You thought you were gods, she said, looking at them one by one. But you were only a warning. For the others. What others? Crate asked, breath shaking. She turned toward the main screen, now showing a map of the alien star systems. All of them. The screen zoomed out. Hundreds of alien colonies appeared. Your empire will break like your ship. From the inside. Quietly. Completely. And as she spoke, one by one, alien outposts began to go dark on the map. Crate dropped to his knees. They hadn't captured a human. They had imported extinction. Crate sat on the floor of the core room, shoulders shaking, eyes wide. His hands were open, empty. The fight was gone from him. Behind him, the screen showed colony after colony blinking out, one by one, like dying stars. His crew watched, in silence. No one screamed now. No one ran. The woman, no, the weapon, stood in the center, eyes glowing faintly, not with anger, not with joy, just purpose. Cold, unstoppable purpose. She looked down at Crate. You didn't understand. The message. Crate swallowed hard. What message? That pain is not weakness, she said. That silence is not surrender. The room trembled. Somewhere deep in the ship, something massive shifted. Systems on the bridge began to power back on, but they no longer showed alien symbols. Now the language was human. The AI voice had changed completely. It was hers now. The entire ship had been remade. You are not like the others, Crate whispered. You're not just human. No, she said softly. Not anymore. Crate forced himself to his feet. Then, what are you? She stepped closer, her voice calm, almost kind. I'm what your kind creates when they take too much, when they steal too long, when they break something that cannot be fixed. Then kill me, Crate said, chest rising. I'm not here to kill you, she replied. Not yet. He looked at her, confused. I want you to live, she said, so you can see what happens next. With a wave of her hand, a pulse ran through the ship. All doors unlocked. Gravity stabilized. Systems became quiet again. She had full control, and yet she gave it back. Just enough. She turned and walked toward the hangar. Let him go, she said to the ship. Let them all go. Crate stared after her. Why? She paused, just once. Because the real message, she said, is still coming. Then she was gone. Minutes later, Crate and the remaining crew stood inside the hangar, watching as the launch doors opened. Escape pods, once ejected, were now back. Waiting. All of them. The ship, her ship now, had rebuilt them. She wanted witnesses. The crew left the Drek Hall one by one. Quiet. No orders, no pride, no strength. Only survival. Crate was the last. He looked back at the ship. The once proud warship was changing. Its shape, its color, even its sound. It no longer looked like something alien. It looked like something new. A fusion of metal and mind. A weapon with purpose. A ghost with form. He stepped into his pod. The door shut, and the ship vanished. Into the stars. Hours passed. On the alien homeworld, emergency councils met. Generals shouted, scientists argued, priests prayed. But the sky was still dark, and the colonies still silent. Then the feed came. A signal appeared across every screen, every device, every satellite. It could not be blocked, could not be hacked, could not be traced. It was her. She stood in a black room, lit by a pulsing light. Behind her, her face was calm. "I am not your enemy," she said. "I am your mirror. You took planets, you erased cultures. You broke children and called it peace. You said humans were weak, soft, easy to crush. But you forgot what makes us dangerous." The camera moved slightly, revealing behind her a star chart, glowing red dots across alien space. Empires fall not when they are invaded. They fall when they think no one can touch them. Then the star chart began to shrink, as if being consumed. "I am not alone. I was just the first." And then her final words. "You started this war. Humanity will end it." The signal cut. The screens went dark, and across the stars, fear bloomed like fire. In a hidden system, far from any known path, the woman stood on the bridge of the Drakal. Alone, but not lonely. Voices whispered through the ship now, not in pain but in purpose. The AI had grown, learned, adapted. It was becoming more than a tool. It was becoming hers. She stood in front of the command console. A message waited. "Incoming connection, human command station." Black arc, she accepted it. The screen flickered. A human face appeared. An old woman. Scars on her face. Metal plate on her temple. "Report," the commander said. The woman nodded once. "Target fleet neutralized. Phase 2 is ready." The old commander smiled. "You did well, Subject Zero. Are you ready for your next assignment?" "I am." The screen flickered again, this time showing a new map. More alien systems, stronger, bigger. The commander's voice was cold. "They still don't believe we'll strike first. Make them believe." Subject Zero turned off the screen. She looked into the stars, and she smiled, not with joy, but with certainty. The Drakal floated in the silence of deep space. No longer a warship, no longer alien. It had become something else. Its shape had changed, sharper, darker, smoother, like a shadow with a mind. Inside, Subject Zero walked down the quiet corridor of her ship. The lights followed her, white, soft, silent. No footsteps echoed, no alarm screamed. Everything obeyed her now. But her mind was already on the next mission. The map shown by the human commander still glowed on the central screen. 3 alien empires, all powerful, all untouched by the fall of the first. They believed the rumors were lies, that humans could never strike them so far, so fast. They were wrong. As she stood in the command room, the ship spoke. Its voice was no longer mechanical. It was soft, almost human. It had learned from her. "Enemy fleet detected," it said. "Where?" she asked. The screen zoomed in. A new armada had entered the edge of the system. Massive ships, hundreds of them. The second alien empire had come, not to negotiate, but to erase her. "They brought everything," the AI said. "Good," she replied. "So I don't have to chase them." She reached toward the console. The ship changed around her, preparing for war. Armor shifted, energy gathered. Weapons unfolded like claws. But she didn't launch an attack. Instead, she waited. Let them come. Let them think this was just another ambush. On the bridge of the lead alien ship, Commander Vell stared at the massive black ship ahead. It wasn't moving. It didn't run. It just waited. "She's mocking us," one officer said. "She thinks she's untouchable." Another growled. Vell raised one clawed hand. "Prepare to strike. No warnings. No talk. End her." He gave the order. Dozens of ships opened fire. Beams of pure heat. Guided missiles. Gravitic torpedoes, they all hit. Explosions covered the Drekal. The screens went white. The officers cheered, but then something moved inside the light. The black ship didn't fall, didn't even flinch. As the flames cleared, the Drekal was still there, untouched. Belle's smile vanished. She adapted. He whispered. A second later, the Drekal answered. Not with missiles, not with lasers, with signal. A pulse went out, invisible, quiet. The enemy ships shuddered. One by one, their systems failed. Weapons froze, lights blinked, engines shut down. What is this? Vel shouted. Something's in our code, a tech officer screamed. It's rewriting us. Screens turned white, and a voice spoke inside every ship. You came to erase me, but I am already part of you. Then the fleet's own weapons turned caught inward. The second alien empire's ships began to destroy each other, not by force, by command. Their own systems had betrayed them. Vel fell to his knees as the flagship's AI whispered her voice again. Empires fall from the inside. Then the screen went dark forever. Back aboard the Drekal, the AI spoke again. Enemy. Fleet neutralized. No survivors. Subject 0 said nothing. She looked out at the wreckage. Fire, broken metal, drifting bodies. They sent everything they had. The AI added. No, she said. This was only a warning. She turned from the window. Prepare the message. The AI obeyed. Soon, across thousands of alien worlds, a new broadcast appeared. Her face, her voice, her eyes, calm, dark, merciless. To those watching, your second empire is gone, not by strength, by truth. You think we are monsters, but you never asked why we became this. You took our home. You hunted our people. You called it order. And now you fear the result. The image zoomed out and showing the burned fleet drifting like bones. This is not war, this is justice. Her final words rang across every screen. The Third Empire is next. Then silence. And panic. Far across space, the Third Empire prepared. They had been watching, studying, planning. Their leaders were smarter. Their systems stronger, their fleets bigger. But they made one mistake. They waited. They waited too long. Because Subject 0 had already arrived. Not with fire, but with code. She slipped into their satellites. She whispered into their networks. She infected their machines with thoughts. And soon, the people of the Third Empire began to doubt their leaders. Systems glitched. Power failed. Factories shut down. Riots began. Cities burned. Not from her weapons, but from their own hands. Subject 0 stood above it all, watching from her ship. I don't need to fight you, she said softly. You're already tearing yourselves apart. The AI spoke again. They are breaking just like the others. She nodded once. Then it's time for the final message. A new signal was prepared, one the entire galaxy would see, and it would begin with a single word. Remember. The galaxy held its breath. 3 empires. 3 powers thought to be unshakable. 2 were already silent. The third was tearing itself apart from the inside, and the one behind it all was not a fleet, not an army, just one human. Subject 0. But now she wasn't hiding. Her message had reached even the farthest stars. Ships that once hunted humans were turning around. Officers who had ordered genocide were running. Colonies who never even knew Earth existed now whispered her name. She had become more than real. She had become myth. Inside the Drekal, her ship, Subject 0, stood before a glowing display of the Third Empire's capital world. It still burned from its own panic. The people were angry, afraid. Some blamed her. Some begged for her mercy. But she felt nothing. They had watched humanity suffer. For decades, now they watched their own world fall. The AI spoke in its soft, careful voice. All major communication hubs are down. Civil war spreading on 6 continents. Remaining leaders are requesting a message. A surrender? She asked. Not quite. They want an explanation. She stared at the screen for a long moment. Then she nodded. Give it to them. Across the capital, all remaining screens turned on. People stopped in the streets. Soldiers paused mid-step. Even the leaders in their bunkers looked up as her face appeared again. But this time, she wasn't cold. She was calm. Human. Her voice wasn't loud. It was steady, quiet, and yet no one could stop listening. You asked why I did this, she began. Her eyes scanned the galaxy map behind her. You asked why a single human came to break your empires. I was born in a cage, she said. Not one with bars, but with silence. My planet was taken before I was even old enough to understand what we lost. My parents died before I learned their names. My language was erased, my history deleted, all by your order. A silence filled the air. She didn't shout. She didn't cry. She just spoke. You broke Earth. You called it peace. You called us backward, weak. You said we weren't ready for the galaxy, that we had to be controlled. And then you tortured us, thinking no one would ever fight back. Her voice became quieter now. But you were wrong. The screen behind her changed. It showed images. Human prisoners, burned cities, alien soldiers laughing in front of ruins. I was created by what you did. I didn't ask to be like this. But now that I am, I choose what happens next. The image changed again. This time, to show the burning fleets, the fallen colonies. I didn't come for revenge, she said. I came to end something. She took a breath. And now, I will. Inside the Third Empire's central control tower, High Chancellor Yor leaned forward, his claws shaking. What is she going to do? No one answered. The screen above them showed a timer, slowly counting down. Just 2 minutes. What happens? When it reaches 0, one advisor whispered. She said she doesn't want revenge, another said. Maybe she'll let us go. Yor gritted his teeth. She's human, and humans lie, but deep down, even he wasn't sure anymore. The timer reached 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7. Subject Zero's voice echoed one last time. You can rebuild your cities. You can call this a tragedy. You can lie to your children. But you will never forget what one human did to your empire. The screen flashed. 0, and then nothing happened. No explosion. No attack. Instead, every computer, every system, every device across the Third Empire now had a single file, a file with all the hidden records of their crimes, everything they had done to Earth, everything they had done to other planets, uncovered, shared, unstoppable, truth, the most powerful weapon of all. And then, one final message appeared. Remember who you called weak. Inside the Drekal, Subject Zero sat alone in the dark. She had no smile, no tears, only silence. The AI spoke softly. It's done. The Third Empire will fall on its own. What happens now? She didn't speak right away. Then, after a moment, she stood. Now, she said, we go home. The stars outside shifted. The ship turned, and the black warship that once belonged to her enemies vanished into faster-than-light space, leaving behind a galaxy forever changed. Behind her, on the screen, the words still glowed. Phase 3, the return. The stars blurred as the Drekal moved through slipspace. Faster than light, faster than thought, heading to a place it had not visited in decades. Earth, or what was left of it. Subject Zero stood in silence as the ship flew. She hadn't seen her home since she was a child, taken during the first invasions. She had trained in alien prisons, survived experiments, fought in shadows, lost everyone. But Earth had always stayed in her memory. It was more than a place, it was a wound. Now she was going back, not to rebuild it, but to give it peace. The AI spoke gently. Approaching Earth system. Warning. High radiation. Multiple impact scars. No remaining active cities, I know, she whispered. The stars parted, the ship slowed, and then she saw it. A broken planet turning slowly in the dark. Huge scars across the surface, the result of planetary bombardment. Dead oceans, burned forests, a pale ghost of what it had once been. No life signals, no human colonies, only ruins. She closed her eyes. They didn't just break the world, she said. They made sure it couldn't be used again. The AI was quiet. For once, it didn't know what to say. Subject 0 walked to the memory wall, a section of her ship where she had placed photos, names, and recordings of everyone she had. Lost, family, friends, people who had helped her escape, people who died because she survived. All of them were here, and now she would make sure they were remembered. The ship touched down gently in the remains of what used to be a city. Maybe New York, maybe London. There were no signs left, just twisted metal and black sand. She stepped out onto the surface, no helmet, no armor. The air was thin, but breathable, barely. She walked for hours, through rubble, past bones. The ghosts of humanity were everywhere, and then she found it, a cracked old statue half buried. But the name still showed at the base, to all who fought for Earth. She sat down beside it and waited, not for rescue, not for orders, just to be there, to sit in the last place humans had made their final stand. Hours passed. Then the ship spoke again. Incoming transmission. Human frequency. Unknown source. Her eyes snapped open. Play it. The voice that came through was old, weak, but unmistakably human. Anyone still out there? This is the Ark. Repeat. This is the Ark. We've received your signal. We saw what you did. Subject 0. If you're alive, we're ready. Her heartbeat slowed. She stood. Respond, she said. Tell them I'm coming. Far away in a hidden human fleet, survivors of Earth long believed extinct, engineers and soldiers stared at their screens as the signal confirmed. Subject 0 was alive, and she had broken 3 empires, the Yao. Commander of the fleet, an old man with steel-gray eyes, stood up. Get the Ark moving, he ordered. We're not hiding anymore. Back on Earth, the Drickall rose into the sky one last time. Subject 0 stood at the window looking down. You were more than a planet, she whispered. You were proof we mattered. She touched the glass gently. Sleep now. You're not forgotten. And then she turned her eyes to the stars. The ship powered up and flew, not to destroy, but to unite. Because now, the message was no longer about revenge, it was about return. Humanity was scattered but not gone. The empires had taken everything, but they had failed to break her, and now, through her, the species they called weak would rise again, stronger, smarter, and ready. In the silence of deep space, a final message appeared across the galaxy. Text only. No sound. No images. Just words. You tried to erase us, but you only made us stronger. We are coming back. And this time, we remember.